What's up, you sick mother bluffers? And this one, I'm showing up late at Deuce's for some tournament action after the kiddos finally went to sleep. I'm up against it, the levels are short. I'm going to start with about 10 bigs. It's probably going to be a lot of all-in action. Variance is going to be at an all-time high. I'm going to need some run good. Let's get into it. I'm going to quickly go through the first couple of hands, and this one action folds to me. I'm on the button with Queen Jack and 11 big blinds. I shove and I get it through. Couple of orbits later, I'm in under the gun. I look down at Queen Jack suited. I've got just over 4 bigs. The fast structure of this tournament shows no mercy. I shove, and with 8 players to act behind me, I somehow get it through. The very next shuffle, there's a limp from under the gun. The cutoff calls, the small blind calls. 9,000 chips in the middle before I even look at my cards. I started a hand with just over 11,000, so now would be a great time to find a squeezable hand. And I look down at Ace Jack. Perfect. I shove, and out of the 3 limpers, only the cutoff is going to find a call for 9,600 total, so technically not at risk of busting, but if I lose, I'd be left with less than 1 big blind, so my fate would be pretty much sealed. I'm surprised, but relieved, to see them flip over King Jack. Kinda weird that they limped off of a 5 big blind stack. Let's hold. Here comes the run out. Ace Jack is going to hold. Let's go. I find my first double up, hopefully the first of many. I end up busting my opponent, and I showed up so late that 3 hands into this vlog, we're already at the final table. Let's quickly cover the next couple of hands. I pick up pocket 9s in middle position. I shove for just over 12 bigs and get it through. The very next shuffle, I look down at pocket kings in under gun 1. I decide to go for a 3x open to 6,000. I would love to get some action, but I just pick up the blinds. It's still a 10% increase to my stack though, and I'll take it. A few hands later, there's a shove from under gun 1. Action folds to the small blind who shoves for more, and I look down at ace queen suited in the big blind. That's about as good a spot as I'll find. I make the call. The small blind covers both me and under gun 1, and they show Queen Jack suited. I have them dominated, and under gun 1 who I cover shows Jack 10 suited, so they're dominated by the small blind. All I need to dodge is a jack or a 10, and I will score a massive triple up that would catapult me to being one of the biggest stacks at the table. Let's go to a run out. The flop comes 8, 10, deuce, rainbow, and just like that, the worst hand is ahead. Small blind also picks up some extra outs, having flopped a gut shot straight draw. The turn brings the 8 of clubs, so I pick up a flush draw on top of my 2 overs that are still live. Can I find an ace, queen, or club on the river for the triple up? Nope, it's the 7 of spades. Under gun 1 is going to take down the main pot. I pick up the side pot, so I'm not out yet, but I'm left with 4 big blinds. Actually, scratch that. Blinds went up. I barely have 2 big blinds. Action folds to the low jack who shoves. It folds to me on the button, and I pick up ace king. The timing could not be any better. I happily make the call for 7,000. Blinds are going to fold, and things look even better when the low jack shows ace queen. We're going heads up to the run out.
Oh, who's got a heart? Oh, no one has a heart.
Such as this.
Board comes clean, and I score a full double up, almost a triple up actually, and I'm still in this. A few hands later, the under the gun player is going to open shove for 4 big blinds. I look down at pocket 4s in under the gun 1, and I shove for more. Action folds to the big blind who covers both of us, and they make the call. Under the gun shows Jack 9 offsuit, and the big blind has ace king. Man, I would have loved for my opponents to have at least 1 card in common, but as it turns out, I'm going to have a shit ton of cards to dodge. We're going 3 ways to a run out. Here it comes.
Mark Jack
In the window!
Diamond now for diamond for.
Come on. Diamonds for Oh my god!
What a turn card. I was close to dead on the flop. Tournament was all but over for me, and then the miracle 4, which did end up giving ace king the nut flush draw, but I hold, and I'm now sitting on 15 bigs. Just a couple of hands later, there's a shove from the low jack. The button calls for less, and I look down at pocket kings in the small blind. Freaking love to see it. I shove, big blind gets out of the way, and so we have another 3-way all-in. I cover both players. Low jack shows ace queen suited, and the button shows pocket 6s. I'm in a great spot to stack both players, but As seen a couple of hands ago, things can change very quickly. Kings may be ahead here, but they actually win just over 50% of the time here, so not as ahead as it might seem. Here comes the run out.
Club.
Oh.
Who's got 3? No one.
2 3 is a 6.
2 3 is a 6. Good.
King of clubs would be really sick. Kings are going to scoop it. This is an easy game, guys. Wow.
Easy game.
10, 20. It's an easy game.
Kings are going to hold. What a sick turn for the low jack though, as that jack of clubs gave them a straight and the flush draw. But once again, I dodge all the outs and come out on top. And just like that, in 2 hands, I go from 18,000 chips to almost 150,000. I'm now in a great spot with close to a 50 big blind stack. Let's go! Another few hands later, action folds to me in the hijack and I look down at King Queen. I'm in raise to 8,000. The big blind gives me crap for raising their big blind. I'm like, it's just a min raise, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm all in. Glancing over at their stack, it looks like they have about 11 big blinds, a little bit over a third of my stack. They happen to be one of the tighter players at the table, so I'm not loving this spot, but I can't fold King Queen here. I make the call, and I'm not happy to see them flip over Ace Queen suited. Heads up to the run out we go.
Deuce.
Ace Queen is going to hold, and after picking up a ton of momentum, I lose a pretty significant amount of chips. I still got over 20 bigs to work with though, so no need to panic just yet. Taking a look at where we're standing at this point in the tournament, there are 6 players left. 4 are getting paid with 440 bucks going to first. Let's get back into it. About an orbit or so later, the button limps and the small blind completes before I look down at Ace Deuce suited in the big blind. And I'm not very hopeful going to the flop, but it comes 8-6-8 rainbow giving me trips. Nice. Small blind checks. I think I can safely slow play here, so I check, and unfortunately the button snap checks back. The turn comes a 4. Small blind checks again. I'm going to try and get some value from my hand. I bet 8,000, and unfortunately both my opponents snap fold. Chips are coming my way though, so no complaints here. Let's quickly go through the next couple of hands. In this one, action folds all around to me in the small blind. I look down at pocket 4s. I shove and pick up the big blind. Here, there's a limp from the cutoff and the button calls. I would love to pick up a nice hand to squeeze, and I get just that. I pick up King Jack suited. I raise to 20,000 and everybody folds. I pick up a very nice pot, uncontested. We start this hand 5-handed, and as it's often the case at deuces, we offer to take 10 bucks out of each paid spot and give the bubble 40 bucks. So we're in the money. In this one, action folds to me on the button and I look down at Ace 9 suited. I've got 14 bigs in my stack and I cover both blinds. Let's try and apply some pressure. I shove. Small blind gets out of the way, but the big blind calls. And even though I cover them, it's not by much, so once again, my tournament life is not at risk, but if I lose, I'll most likely be next to bust, which would be a huge disappointment. And it's looking pretty bad for me, as they show pocket queens. So sick for them to wake up with a monster in the big blind. Let's go to a run out.
I got multiple sizes. Jack, a queen, whatever it is, whatever somebody wants.
Damn, ace right in the window. My opponent does not catch up, and they end up being the one getting their hopes for a first place finish crushed after starting the hand as a major favorite. I can't help but feel like this is my tournament to win. That's just the way it goes sometimes. Good game to my opponent. They're out in 4th. We're now 3-handed and 1 step closer to first place. An orbit or so later, under the gun shoves for 4 big blinds. The button and small blind fold, and I look down at pocket 4s in the big blind. I have an easy call, and it looks like we're going on a fishing trip because I got the sailboats and they've got the fish hooks. Pocket jacks. On to the run out.
4s again, Mark.
Put it straight. 8. 5. Nice.
Pocket jacks are going to hold. It's a minor hit to my stack, thankfully. That being said, with stacks being pretty shallow, there's no such thing as a minor hit. Every pot matters at this stage. The very next shuffle, the button limps before I look down at pocket kings in the small blind. I raise to 30,000, and the big blind shoves for 68,000. Button is going to get out of the way, and I snippity snap. They show pocket 10s. pretty sick for the both of us to pick up pocket pairs back to back. I'm ahead this time. Here comes the run out.
Oh, so far so good. Not good.
She's got a club.
Inside.
Oh, thank God.
Oh.
It's never easy. Always has to be a sweat. My opponent picked up a flush draw on the turn, but once again, I hold, I get my chips back, and I now have a massive chip lead as we go into three-handed play. Next hand of note, the button folds and I look down at 7-6 in the small blind. After seeing the big blind play for a while now, I don't expect them to punish me too often for just calling, so I call, and as I expected, they check back. We go heads up to a flop, a 4-6 queen, 2 hearts. I pick up middle pair, nice. I want to see what my opponent does though, so I check and they check back. The turn comes the queen of hearts. After my opponent checked back on the turn and only one over card to my middle pair, I decide to probe for a min bet of 8,000, to which the big blind responds by shoving for 46,000 total. Here were my thoughts in game. I don't think you have a queen because I think you would have bet. So it's either you have the flush or you just have a flush draw. And I can beat a flush draw. So I'm gonna call. You have a flush? 9-4?
Oh, wow. All right. 4-9.
Well, I wasn't putting my opponent on a 4 after they checked back the flop, but obviously thrilled to catch them with a weaker hand and bust them in third place. GG. We are now going into heads up play. Let's take this tournament down. When we went into heads up, I had a 2-1 chip lead on my opponent. The first 10 minutes of heads up play, they played very aggressively, as they should. And in this hand, I looked down at ace jack on the button. As I mentioned, they've been playing very aggressively, especially the few times I just called on the button where they often shoved on me. So here I'm trying to set a trap by just calling, but they don't fall for it and just call. We go to the flop, which comes 7 jack deuce, a great flop for me. They didn't shove pre-flop, but now they do. Quite a massive overbet too, but I'm obviously always snap calling with top pair. And they show 9-7 for second pair, and we're going to a turn and river. If I can dodge a 7 or a 9, I will take this tournament down. The turn comes a 5, and the river is a queen. Let's freaking go! GG to my opponent for a great heads-up battle, but in the end, I just ran too good. I take this pot down, and with that, I now hold all the chips. Dealer snaps a pick. I'm going to give myself a punchable face rating of 7 out of 10 on this one. So yeah, I take down first for 430 bucks, minus the buy-in and tip to the dealers. That's a profit of 350 bucks. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you run this good at the tables, and catch you in the next one.